Welcome to Dreamtale Sleep Stories. Tonight's reading is The Day I Accidentally Became King of the Pigeons. Settle into your bed or sofa and let your shoulders, jaw, and eyelids grow heavy. Inhale slowly, 1, 2, 3, and sigh the air away, allowing the day to fade into quiet dark. With every soft inhale, you invite fresh English phrases. With every gentle exhale, stray thoughts drift farther off. Behind my voice flows a gentle melody, renowned for guiding the mind toward deep relaxation. Keep your eyes closed or follow the captions, whichever feels right. Simply receive the rhythm and resonance of the language. Deep in rest, tonight's phrases will take root like seeds, ready to bloom into stronger English skills with the morning light. When you feel settled, hold that unhurried breath and allow yourself to drift into the tale. The Day I Accidentally Became King of the Pigeons begins now, and when the story's final line has faded, the music will linger a little longer, carrying you gently deeper into sleep. The Day I Accidentally Became King of the Pigeons. My name is Jake Wilson, and I am a 22-year-old biology student at the University of Central Valley. I have always considered myself a completely ordinary person with an absolutely normal life. I wake up at 7 in the morning, attend my classes, study in the library, and occasionally watch movies with my roommate Dave. The most exciting thing that had ever happened to me was finding a $20 bill in my old jacket pocket last semester. I definitely never expected to become the ruler of thousands of pigeons in downtown Memorial Park. But life has a strange way of surprising you when you least expect it. It all began on a perfectly ordinary Tuesday morning in March. The weather was unusually warm for the season, and I had decided to skip my afternoon developmental biology lecture to enjoy the sunshine in the park. I know skipping class is not the most responsible thing to do, but Professor Martinez had been explaining the same concept about cell differentiation for 3 weeks, and I was confident I could catch up by reading the textbook later. I packed a simple lunch consisting of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a bag of potato chips, and a bottle of orange juice in my old backpack, and walked the 15 minutes from my dormitory to Memorial Park. The park was not particularly crowded that afternoon, which was perfect for my plan to find a quiet spot to eat and perhaps read a few chapters from my environmental science textbook. I found an empty bench near the central fountain, a large stone structure decorated with carved dolphins and constantly flowing water. The fountain was surrounded by well-maintained flower beds filled with colorful tulips and daffodils, and several large oak trees provided pleasant shade from the increasingly warm sun. I sat down, opened my backpack, and unwrapped my sandwich, completely unaware that this simple action was about to change my life in the most unexpected way. As soon as I took the first bite of my sandwich, I noticed a small gray pigeon walking toward me with what seemed like unusual confidence. Most pigeons I had encountered in the past were quite timid and would fly away if humans came too close. But this particular bird approached my bench with the determined stride of someone who had important business to conduct. The pigeon stopped directly in front of me and tilted its head to one side, staring at me with bright orange eyes that seemed remarkably intelligent. "Shoo," I said softly, waving my free hand in the pigeon's general direction. "Go find someone else to bother." But instead of flying away, the pigeon took several steps closer and began making a series of soft cooing sounds that almost sounded like it was trying to communicate something specific. Within seconds, 2 more pigeons appeared from behind the fountain, then 5 more from the flower beds, and soon I was surrounded by what appeared to be at least 30 pigeons, all staring at me with the same intense, expectant expressions. "Okay, this is definitely weird," I muttered to myself, breaking off a small piece of bread from my sandwich and tossing it toward the growing crowd of birds. "Here, take this and leave me alone." The moment the bread hit the ground, something extraordinary happened. Instead of rushing toward the food like normal pigeons would do, the entire group stepped backward and began cooing in perfect unison. The sound was unlike anything I had ever heard before. It was almost musical, with complex harmonies and rhythms that seemed too sophisticated for simple bird communication. Then, to my complete amazement, the original pigeon that had approached me walked forward, picked up the piece of bread in its beak, and carried it back to place it gently at my feet. It then performed what could only be described as a bow, lowering its head and spreading one wing in a gesture that looked remarkably like a formal salute. "Did you just bow to me?" I asked the pigeon, feeling slightly ridiculous for talking to a bird. The pigeon looked up at me and nodded, actually nodded, like a human being would do to indicate agreement. I rubbed my eyes and looked again, certain that I was either hallucinating or experiencing some kind of stress-related mental breakdown caused by too many late nights studying for exams. But the pigeon was still there, still looking at me with those intelligent orange eyes. And now it was joined by what appeared to be the largest pigeon I had ever seen. This new arrival was significantly bigger than the others, with darker gray feathers and a distinctive white patch on its chest that looked almost like a military medal. The large pigeon approached me with even more ceremony than the first, walking in a perfectly straight line and maintaining eye contact the entire time. When it reached my bench, the large pigeon cleared its throat with a sound that was definitely not a normal bird noise and spoke in perfect, crisp English. "Your Majesty, we have been waiting for your arrival for many months. I am General Kubert, commander of the Memorial Park Pigeon Brigade, and it is my honor to officially welcome you to your kingdom." I dropped my sandwich. "I'm sorry," I said, staring at the talking pigeon with what I was sure was a completely ridiculous expression on my face. "Did you just call me Your Majesty and claim to be a military general?" "Indeed I did, Your Royal Highness," General Kubert replied with another formal bow. "According to the ancient prophecy passed down through 17 generations of pigeon leadership, the true king of all pigeons would be identified by 3 specific signs. He would appear near the sacred fountain during the season of new growth. He would offer sustenance freely without expectation of reward. And he would possess the rare gift of understanding our language. You have fulfilled all 3 requirements, and therefore, we officially recognize you as our sovereign ruler." I looked around the park to see if anyone else was witnessing this completely insane conversation. but the few other people visible in the distance seemed to be going about their normal activities without paying any attention to my situation. A woman was walking her dog near the pond. An elderly man was reading a newspaper on a bench 50 yards away, and a group of children was playing on the playground equipment. None of them seemed to notice that I was having a detailed conversation with a pigeon who claimed to be a military officer. "This has to be some kind of elaborate prank," I said, still staring at General Kubert in disbelief. "Are you telling me that all these pigeons have been waiting for me specifically to become their king? That's absolutely ridiculous." "I understand your skepticism, Your Majesty," the general replied patiently. "The transition from ordinary human life to royal pigeon leadership can indeed be overwhelming. However, I must inform you that your coronation comes at a particularly critical time for our community. We are currently facing the most serious threat to pigeon security in over 50 years." "What kind of threat?" I asked, surprised that I was actually engaging in this conversation, as if it were completely normal. General Kubert's expression became grave, and he gestured toward the largest oak tree at the edge of the park with one wing. "The Crow Coalition, led by the ruthless King Crolius, has declared war on all pigeon territories in the metropolitan area. They have already conquered Riverside Park and Elm Street Garden, and intelligence reports indicate that they are planning a major assault on Memorial Park within the next 72 hours. We desperately need strong leadership to organize our defenses and protect our people." I followed the general's gaze toward the oak tree and noticed for the first time that its branches were filled with large black birds that were indeed staring in our direction with what appeared to be hostile intent. Even from this distance, I could see that there were dozens of crows perched in the tree, and more were arriving every few minutes. "So let me get this straight," I said slowly, trying to process this information. "You want me, a college student who knows absolutely nothing about birds or military strategy, to lead an army of pigeons in a war against an army of crows?" "That is correct, Your Majesty," General Kubert confirmed. "Though I should mention that you will not be fighting alone. Our intelligence network has identified several potential allies among the other bird species in the park, including a family of unusually militant ducks at the pond and a group of sparrows who have been conducting guerrilla operations against crow forces for several weeks." Before I could respond to this latest piece of information, a beautiful pigeon with distinctive silver-gray feathers and remarkable blue eyes landed gracefully on the arm of my bench. She was smaller than General Kubert, but carried herself with obvious dignity and poise. "Your Majesty," she said in a voice that was both melodious and confident, "I am Princess Featherina, daughter of the late King Kunoble, and I want to personally thank you for accepting the responsibility of leadership during these difficult times. Our people have suffered greatly under the constant threat of crow aggression, and we believe that your arrival represents our best hope for lasting peace and security." Princess Featherina was undeniably beautiful, even by pigeon standards, and I found myself somewhat flustered by her gracious manner and obvious intelligence. "Princess," I replied, attempting to sound more dignified than I felt, "I'm honored by your confidence in me. but I really don't think I'm qualified for this position. I mean, I'm just a biology student. I study cells and plants, not military tactics. Your scientific background may prove more valuable than you realize, Princess Featherina said with an encouraging smile. Understanding the natural world and the relationships between different species could be exactly the kind of knowledge we need to develop effective strategies against King Crolius and his forces. As if summoned by the mention of his name, a massive crow with jet-black feathers and cruel red eyes suddenly landed on the fountain's edge, just a few yards away from our group. He was at least twice the size of General Kubert and radiated an aura of menace that made all the pigeons immediately cluster closer together for protection. So, the giant crow said in a voice like grinding stone, "The pigeon fools have finally found themselves a human king. How pathetic. I am King Crolius, rightful ruler of all birds in this pathetic little park, and I'm here to deliver an ultimatum." King Crolius fixed his red eyes on me with a stare that made me extremely uncomfortable. "Human boy," he continued, "you have exactly 24 hours to convince these flying rats to surrender their territory and acknowledge my supreme authority. If they refuse, my crow army will drive every pigeon from this park permanently, and anyone who tries to help them will face the same fate." "Now wait just a minute," I said, standing up from the bench with more courage than I actually felt. "You can't just threaten these pigeons and expect everyone to be intimidated. This is a public park, and all birds have the right to live here peacefully." King Crolius let out a harsh laugh that sounded like a combination of a bark and a shriek. "Rights! The only right that matters is the right of the strong to rule the weak. Crows are superior to pigeons in every way. We're larger, smarter, more aggressive, and better organized. This park belongs to us now, and if you're foolish enough to stand against us, you'll learn exactly why humans should never interfere in bird politics." "Your Majesty," General Kubert whispered urgently, "King Crolius is not making empty threats. His forces have already demonstrated their willingness to use violence to achieve their goals. Last week, they attacked a group of elderly pigeons near the playground and injured several birds who were too slow to escape. I felt a surge of anger at the thought of innocent pigeons being hurt by bullying crows. Throughout my life, I had always hated seeing stronger individuals pick on those who couldn't defend themselves. And apparently, this principle applied to birds as well as humans. "King Crolius," I said, looking directly at the menacing bird with as much authority as I could manage, "I reject your ultimatum. The pigeons of Memorial Park are under my protection, and I'm not going to let you or your army terrorize them into submission. If you want this territory, you'll have to fight for it." The massive crow's eyes glowed with malicious pleasure. "Excellent," he said. "I was hoping you would choose the difficult path. Tomorrow at sunset, my forces will attack from all directions simultaneously. Prepare your pathetic army for total defeat, human king. When this is over, there won't be a single pigeon left in Memorial Park." With that ominous declaration, King Crolius spread his enormous wings and flew back toward the oak tree, where he was immediately surrounded by dozens of his followers. Even from this distance, I could hear them cawing excitedly as they received orders for the upcoming battle. "Well," I said, sitting back down on the bench and looking at the group of pigeons who were all staring at me with expressions of hope and expectation. "I guess I'm really doing this. General Kubert, I'm going to need a complete briefing on our military capabilities, potential allies, and any strategic advantages we might be able to exploit." General Kubert straightened up with obvious pride and relief. "Of course, Your Majesty. If you'll follow me, I'll take you to our command headquarters, where we can review intelligence reports and begin planning our defense strategy." The general led our group across the park to the fountain, where he performed an elaborate series of pecks on specific stones around the base. To my amazement, a hidden panel slid open, revealing a tunnel that led underground beneath the fountain structure. Our ancestors built this facility during the Great Sparrow War of 1987. General Kubert explained as we made our way through the surprisingly spacious tunnel. It has served as our command center and emergency shelter ever since. The underground headquarters was far more sophisticated than I had expected. The main chamber was large enough to accommodate several dozen pigeons comfortably, with smaller rooms branching off for specialized purposes. One room contained detailed maps of the entire park, with colored pins indicating various strategic locations. Another room was filled with communication equipment that allowed the pigeon leadership to stay in contact with scouts and operatives throughout the metropolitan area. "This is incredible," I said, examining a map that showed crow positions, pigeon patrol routes, and potential escape routes in case the battle went poorly. "How did you manage to build all this without humans noticing?" Pigeons are much more intelligent and organized than most humans realize, Princess Fetherina explained. "We've been living alongside human civilization for thousands of years, and we've learned to work around your limitations rather than against them. Most humans never look closely enough to notice what we're actually doing." Over the next several hours, General Kubert provided me with a comprehensive briefing on the current military situation. The Crow forces numbered approximately 200 soldiers, led by King Crolius and his inner circle of lieutenant commanders. They had superior size and aggressiveness, but they were also overconfident and tended to rely on brute force rather than sophisticated tactics. The Pigeon Army consisted of roughly 150 fighters of various sizes and specialties, plus another 50 birds who were too young, old, or injured to participate in direct combat, but could serve in support roles. The pigeons' main advantages were their superior knowledge of the park terrain, their excellent communication network, and their ability to coordinate complex flight maneuvers. We also have potential allies among the other bird species, General Kubert continued, pointing to various locations on the strategic map. A duck family at the pond has agreed to provide naval support if we can convince them that a crow victory would threaten their territory as well. The Sparrow Resistance Movement has been conducting sabotage operations against crow supply lines. and their leader has expressed interest in a formal alliance. What about the other birds in the park? I asked. Are there any species that might support the crows or remain neutral? The seagulls near the snack bar have declared neutrality and refuse to get involved, Princess Featherina replied. They're primarily concerned with protecting their access to human food sources. The robins are sympathetic to our cause, but are too small to provide significant military assistance. However, there is one potential ally who could completely change the balance of power in our favor. Who's that? I asked with interest. Professor Squawk, the great horned owl who lives in the old elm tree near the park entrance, General Kubert said with obvious respect. He is the oldest and wisest bird in the park, and he commands enormous respect among all species. If we could convince him to support our cause, many of the neutral species would likely join us as well. Why hasn't he chosen a side already? I wanted to know. Professor Squawk follows a strict policy of non-interference in conflicts between other species, Princess Featherina explained. He believes that all birds should resolve their differences through negotiation rather than violence. However, he has never faced a situation where one species was trying to completely eliminate another from their territory. Then we need to speak with him immediately, I decided. If King Crolius is planning to attack at sunset tomorrow, we don't have much time to build our alliance and prepare our defenses. As evening approached, our group made its way to the ancient elm tree where Professor Squawk was rumored to live. The tree was enormous, with thick branches that extended in all directions and created a natural canopy that blocked most of the remaining sunlight. As we approached the base of the tree, a deep, resonant voice called down from the upper branches, "Young human king," the voice said with the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "I have been expecting you. Please climb to the first major branch junction so that we can speak privately." Climbing a large tree had not been part of my plans for the day, but I was beginning to realize that being king of the pigeons involved many unexpected responsibilities. I carefully made my way up the trunk, using the deep grooves in the bark as handholds, until I reached a wide branch about 15 feet above the ground. Professor Squawk was the most magnificent bird I had ever seen. He stood nearly 3 feet tall, with enormous yellow eyes that seemed to contain centuries of accumulated wisdom. His feathers were a beautiful combination of brown, gray, and white patterns that provided perfect camouflage among the tree branches. "Your Majesty," Professor Squawk said with a formal nod, "I have observed your encounter with King Crolius and your acceptance of leadership responsibilities among the pigeon community. I must say that I am impressed by your willingness to stand up for those who cannot defend themselves." "Thank you, Professor," I replied, trying to maintain my balance on the tree branch. "I was hoping to discuss the current situation with you and perhaps ask for your advice on how to resolve this conflict peacefully." The great owl's expression became grave. "I'm afraid that peaceful resolution may no longer be possible," he said sadly. "King Crolius has moved far beyond the boundaries of acceptable territorial disputes. His goal is not merely to control Memorial Park, but to establish crow dominance over all bird species in the metropolitan area. If he succeeds here, he will continue expanding his territory until no other birds can live safely anywhere in the city. So you think fighting is the only option? I asked. Sometimes, Professor Squawk said thoughtfully. Those who love peace must be willing to fight to protect it. King Crolius has chosen violence as his preferred method of problem solving, and the only language he understands is force. However, I cannot directly participate in military action due to my position as a neutral arbiter of interspecies disputes. But could you help us in other ways? I asked hopefully. Professor Squawk smiled, which was a rather startling expression on such a large bird. I believe I could provide certain forms of educational assistance that might prove valuable to your cause. For example, I could share information about advanced flight tactics, effective communication strategies, and historical precedents that might inform your strategic planning. Over the next 2 hours, Professor Squawk provided me with an intensive education in bird psychology, group dynamics, and military history. I learned that crows were vulnerable to coordinated attacks from multiple directions because their hierarchical command structure made it difficult for them to adapt quickly to changing tactical situations. I also learned that pigeons possessed several natural abilities that could be enhanced through proper training and coordination. Most importantly, Professor Squawk concluded, you must remember that this conflict is not really about territory or resources. It is about the fundamental question of whether diversity and cooperation can triumph over uniformity and domination. King Crolius represents a philosophy that believes only the strongest deserve to survive, while you represent a philosophy that values the contributions of all species regardless of their individual capabilities. By the time I returned to the pigeon headquarters, word of Professor Squawk's unofficial support had spread throughout the bird community, and our alliance was growing stronger. The duck family had officially agreed to provide naval support, and the sparrow resistance movement had begun coordinating their sabotage operations with our overall strategic plan. General Kubert had been busy organizing our forces into specialized units based on their individual strengths and abilities. The fastest pigeons were assigned to reconnaissance and communication roles, while the largest and strongest birds formed the main assault force. A group of particularly clever pigeons had been tasked with developing diversionary tactics designed to confuse and misdirect the Crow army. Your Majesty, Princess Featherina reported as I entered the command center. We've received intelligence that King Crolius has been recruiting additional forces from outside the park. Our scouts estimate that he may have as many as 300 fighters available for tomorrow's battle. That's almost twice our number, I said with concern. How can we possibly match that kind of numerical superiority? Superior tactics and strategic positioning, General Kubert replied confidently. The Crows are expecting a conventional battle where they can use their size and aggressiveness to overwhelm our forces. Instead, we're going to give them something completely unexpected. The general spread out a detailed tactical map showing the entire park with specific positions marked for each unit of our alliance. The battle will begin at sunset when King Crolius launches his main assault from the oak tree. Our primary forces will initially retreat toward the fountain, drawing the crows into the center of the park, where they'll be surrounded by water on one side and open ground on all other sides. That sounds like a trap, I observed. Exactly, Princess Featherina said with a smile. While the crows are focused on pursuing our main force, specialized units will attack their supply lines, communication centers, and escape routes. The Duck Navy will control the pond area to prevent any retreat in that direction, while the Sparrow guerrillas will harass their flanks and rear guard. What about King Crolius himself? I asked. He's clearly the most dangerous individual fighter, and if he remains in command, the other crows will continue fighting even if their tactical situation becomes hopeless. That's where you come in, Your Majesty, General Kubert said seriously. According to Pigeon military tradition, when two armies are led by royal commanders, the outcome of the entire conflict can be determined by single combat between the two leaders. If you were to challenge King Crolius to individual battle, honor would require him to accept, and whichever side wins the duel would claim victory in the larger war. I stared at the general in disbelief. You want me to fight a giant crow in hand-to-hand combat? Have you seen the size of his claws and beak? He could probably kill me in about 30 seconds. Not hand-to-hand combat, Princess Featherina clarified quickly. Single combat between bird leaders traditionally involves aerial maneuvers, strategic thinking, and tests of courage rather than direct physical violence. It's more like a flying chess match than a brawl. There's just one problem with that plan, I pointed out. I'm a human being. I can't fly. Actually, General Kubert said with a mysterious smile, that might not be as much of a problem as you think. Professor Squawk mentioned that he had access to certain historical artifacts that might temporarily provide you with the abilities you need for aerial combat. The next morning, I met Professor Squawk in a secluded grove on the far side of the park, where he presented me with the most unusual piece of equipment I had ever seen. It appeared to be a vest made from hundreds of different bird feathers, each one carefully selected and arranged in a complex pattern that seemed to shimmer and change color depending on the angle of the light. This is the legendary flight vest of Icarus, Professor Squawk explained with obvious reverence. It was created over 200 years ago by a brilliant inventor who wanted to understand the experience of flight from a bird's perspective. When worn by someone with pure intentions and a brave heart, it grants temporary flight abilities equivalent to those of a medium-sized bird. Are you serious? I asked, examining the vest with fascination and skepticism in equal measure. This thing will actually let me fly? For a limited time, yes, Professor Squawk confirmed. However, I must warn you that the magic is powered by the wearer's own life energy, so extended use could be dangerous. You'll have perhaps 30 minutes of flight time before exhaustion forces you to return to the ground. I put on the vest and immediately felt a strange tingling sensation throughout my body, as if every cell was being charged with electrical energy. Professor Squawk instructed me to concentrate on the sensation of weightlessness and gradually visualize myself rising into the air. To my absolute amazement, it worked. I slowly lifted off the ground, first hovering just a few inches above the grass, then gradually ascending higher until I was floating at eye level with Professor Squawk in his tree branch. The sensation was unlike anything I had ever experienced. A perfect combination of freedom, exhilaration, and terror. "Excellent," Professor Squawk said approvingly. "Now you must practice basic maneuvers and aerial combat techniques. Remember, King Crolius is an experienced fighter who has defeated many opponents in single combat. Your only advantages are creativity, unpredictability, and the element of surprise." I spent the rest of the morning learning to fly with increasing confidence and skill. By noon, I was capable of complex aerial maneuvers, including sharp turns, rapid climbs, controlled dives, and even brief periods of hovering in place. More importantly, I was beginning to understand the three-dimensional nature of aerial combat and how to use altitude, speed, and positioning as tactical weapons. As the afternoon progressed, both armies began assembling their forces for the evening battle. The Crow army gathered in and around the oak tree, their black forms creating an ominous shadow that seemed to darken the entire eastern section of the park. King Crolius himself perched on the highest branch, occasionally letting out harsh cries that echoed across the landscape like battle calls. Meanwhile, our alliance forces took up their assigned positions throughout the park. Pigeon units concealed themselves in various locations where they could launch surprise attacks, while the Duck Navy prepared for aquatic combat operations. The Sparrow guerrillas dispersed into small groups that could move quickly and strike at unexpected targets. As sunset approached, I stood at the center of the park near the fountain, wearing the flight vest of Icarus and feeling more nervous than I had ever been in my life. Princess Featherina and General Kubert flanked me on either side, while the main pigeon force arranged itself in defensive formations behind us. "Your Majesty," Princess Featherina said quietly, "whatever happens in the next hour, please know that you have already proven yourself to be a worthy leader. You chose to help those who couldn't help themselves, and that kind of courage is more valuable than any military victory." "Thank you, Princess," I replied, touched by her confidence in me. "Let's hope I can live up to your expectations." King Crolius appeared at exactly the moment the sun touched the horizon, leading an enormous formation of black birds that blotted out a significant portion of the sky. He flew directly toward our position with obvious malicious intent, landing on the fountain's edge just as he had the day before. "So, human king," King Crolius said with a cruel smile, "are you ready to watch your pathetic army of flying rats surrender? Or would you prefer to see them destroyed in battle?" "Actually," I replied, activating the flight vest and rising slowly into the air, "I have a different proposal. According to the ancient traditions of bird warfare, I challenge you to single combat for leadership of Memorial Park. If you win, the pigeons will leave permanently. If I win, your crow army withdraws and never threatens this territory again. King Crolius looked genuinely surprised to see me hovering in the air. But he quickly recovered his composure and let out a harsh laugh. A human who thinks he can fly? This should be entertaining. Very well, boy. I accept your challenge. Prepare to learn why crows are the master race among all birds. The giant crow launched himself into the air with powerful wing beats, climbing rapidly to an altitude of about 50 feet before circling around to face me in aerial combat position. His flight style was aggressive and intimidating, with sharp turns and sudden altitude changes designed to confuse and disorient his opponent. I decided to use the tactics that Professor Squawk had taught me, focusing on patience and strategic positioning rather than trying to match King Crolius's raw power and aggressiveness. I maintained a defensive posture, staying high enough to avoid his initial attacks, while studying his flight patterns and looking for weaknesses I could exploit. The first phase of our aerial duel consisted mainly of testing each other's capabilities through a series of feints, dives, and evasive maneuvers. King Crolius was undeniably skilled and experienced, but I began to notice that his attacks followed predictable patterns based on intimidation rather than genuine tactical sophistication. Is this the best the mighty human king can offer? King Crolius taunted as he executed another dramatic dive in my direction. You fly like a pigeon, weak, slow, and cowardly. Instead of responding to his provocation, I continued observing his techniques while gradually luring him toward the center of the park, where our ground forces were positioned. I had realized that the key to victory was not defeating King Crolius in pure aerial combat, but rather demonstrating to both armies that cooperation and intelligence could triumph over aggression and brute force. When King Crolius attempted his most ambitious attack yet, a high-speed dive designed to knock me out of the sky through sheer impact, I executed the maneuver that Professor Squawk had taught me for dealing with larger, more powerful opponents. At the last possible moment, I rolled sideways and grabbed onto King Crolius's leg with both hands, using his own momentum to carry us both toward the ground in a controlled crash landing. We hit the grass near the fountain in a tumbling mass of feathers, wings, and human limbs. King Crolius was stunned by the impact and found himself pinned beneath my weight, with his wings spread awkwardly on either side. For the first time since I had met him, he looked genuinely surprised and uncertain. "Yield," I said firmly, maintaining my grip on his wings to prevent him from flying away. "Your army is surrounded, your supply lines are cut off, and you've been defeated in single combat. Order your forces to withdraw, and this conflict ends now with minimal bloodshed." King Crolius struggled for several more seconds before finally relaxing and nodding in defeat. "I yield," he said quietly, his voice lacking its usual arrogance and menace. The victory is yours, human king. I released him and stood up, offering my hand to help him to his feet in a gesture of respect for a defeated but worthy opponent. King Crolius hesitated for a moment, then accepted my assistance and stood with as much dignity as he could manage. Your forces have 1 hour to evacuate Memorial Park, I announced loudly enough for all the assembled birds to hear. Any crows who choose to remain as peaceful residents rather than part of an occupying army are welcome to stay, but there will be no more threats or violence against other species. As the Crow Army began their withdrawal, I was surrounded by celebrating pigeons, ducks, sparrows, and various other birds who had supported our alliance. Princess Featherina landed gracefully beside me and performed an elegant curtsy. "Your Majesty," she said with obvious admiration, "you have proven that true leadership comes not from strength or fear, but from wisdom, courage, and compassion for others." General Kubert approached with a formal salute. "Your Majesty, on behalf of the Memorial Park Pigeon Brigade, I want to express our eternal gratitude for your leadership during this crisis. You will always be remembered as the human king who chose to protect those who could not protect themselves." As the celebration continued around me, I realized that this experience had changed me in ways I was only beginning to understand. I had discovered capabilities and courage that I never knew I possessed. And I had learned that sometimes the most ordinary people are called upon to do extraordinary things. Over the following weeks, Memorial Park became a model of interspecies cooperation and peaceful coexistence. The various bird communities established a council system for resolving disputes without violence, and I served as an honorary mediator whenever complex issues arose. I also learned that being king of the pigeons was not a full-time job, which was fortunate since I still had biology classes to attend and exams to pass. Most days, I was just Jake Wilson, ordinary college student, but whenever I walked through Memorial Park, I was greeted with respectful nods and grateful coos from my feathered subjects. Professor Squawk became a close advisor and friend, teaching me about the complex relationships between different species and the delicate balance that exists in urban ecosystems. Princess Featherina and I developed a friendship based on mutual respect and shared commitment to maintaining peace and justice in the park. Even King Crolius eventually returned to Memorial Park, but as a reformed character rather than a conqueror. He established a small but peaceful crow community near the eastern edge of the park and occasionally sought my advice on matters of leadership and conflict resolution. The flight vest of Icarus was returned to Professor Squawk for safekeeping, though he assured me that I could borrow it again if any future emergencies required royal intervention from the sky. My roommate, Dave, never did figure out why I suddenly became so interested in bird behavior and park ecology. But he was supportive of my new hobby and even accompanied me on several visits to Memorial Park to observe the various species in their natural habitat. As for my parents, they were pleased to learn that I was spending more time outdoors and taking an active interest in environmental conservation. Though I decided not to mention the specific details of my royal status among the local pigeon population. Looking back on that extraordinary day when I accidentally became king of the pigeons, I realized that it taught me one of the most important lessons of my life. Sometimes the greatest adventures begin with the smallest acts of kindness. And sometimes the most ordinary people are capable of the most extraordinary things. And every time I walk through Memorial Park and see the various bird species living together in harmony, I'm reminded that leadership is not about power or control, but about bringing out the best in others and creating communities where everyone can thrive. The day I accidentally became king of the pigeons turned out to be the day I discovered who I really was and what I was truly capable of achieving when I chose to stand up for what was right, even when it seemed impossible. And that, I believe, is a lesson worth remembering for the rest of my life.